This is a Flying Cow production.
Well, hello and welcome back to Fantasy Food Showdown here on the Flying Cow Network. I, of course, am your host, Clay Johnson, the Flying Cow himself, and we are back talking about the penultimate episode of TOC 6. And here with me to review all the matches of this episode are returning guests, Amanda and Dan Van Heil. How are you guys?
Doing good. How about you?
Doing great.
Good. Doing good. Excited to talk to you guys about this show. First of all, I want to ask, when we talked initially, you guys hadn't been watching the show, but you were excited about it. So have you guys been keeping it up, or did you just jump back in
very
for this
into
episode?
it?
Yeah, we had to know like every Wednesday night when it was free
Monday night. Yeah, Monday night.
Yeah.
Like we would come home from kung fu class and like, all right, we've got the tournament champions. We gotta watch it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So what have you guys thought about the tournament so far?
It's really fun. I enjoy watching it. I always like seeing like what kind of shakeups they're gonna get like on the randomizer.
Mm-hmm. And I came to realize that the randomizer looks like it's got so many options, but it's like, oh, it's actually
like
just
4.
3 or 4 each.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes they'll like change them in between matches or something like that.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes there will be like a couple of holdovers from a previous wheel, but a lot of times it looks like there's completely new options.
Yeah.
Guess it just depends on what they had available,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, they're wanting to kind of steer the ship in specific directions and things like that to kind of, depending on the round, kind of, make it easier or up the difficulty or things like that. But yeah, they're always, I will say this is the first year that they have not really used time as a variable. In previous seasons, I think in the first 2, every round you spun time. But in the last few seasons, they've made time fixed in round 1. But then after that, time was a variable. It feels like this is definitely the furthest that they have made a set time, because they did it in the second round and also in the quarterfinals, because that's what this episode covered, was the entire quarterfinals. And I'll be interested to see next week if they decide to make time a variable again, or if they just keep doing the wild card. Because to be honest, I kind of like the introduction of the wild card.
I like the wild card.
Oh, me too.
You don't like the wild card?
No, I do like the wild card.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because a lot of times it'll be some ingredient that I've never heard of.
Yeah. We get to learn things.
Oh, well, I mean, especially like this week, because it was all like international.
Yeah,
stuff.
they had that salted plum, that Rhea
the umeboshi.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely often things that I've not heard of in that one. I mean, in previous, like, it would just be things like, you have to use peanut butter or things like that. But yeah, this week it was definitely interesting. What did you guys think about last week when it was the
it was like spin again or high,
like a respin or things like that? What did you guys think about that?
I liked it, but it was only exciting for that moment. It didn't carry through to the rest of the episode, the rest of the match.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, it was really just like you say, for that moment, and then they really only had to worry about including like hitting 4 marks or things rather than 5.
And half of the time when they respun something, it landed on the same thing again. So it's still like you didn't even get to hear about like, oh, if I only had kept that one thing, maybe this would have been better. It's like, no, you ended up with the same thing you already had.
Yeah. Well, because you guys are returning, I would kind of like to take a look real quick at how you guys have been doing so far.
Can we not?
Yeah. It's not great. Because
what happens when I make a whatever it's called bracket based on their Instagram.
Your bracket. Yeah.
It's one worse than my basketball bracket, but not by much.
You both lost both people that you had in the finals.
Yeah.
I will say honestly, Amanda, yours held on.
I'm actually impressed with mine.
For longer than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect Michael to make it into the second round. And he did. Now that's as far as he made it, but he made it into the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then of course, Dan, you lost both of yours in the same week.
Yep.
But
that was a rough show for me.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I will say I haven't really talked a lot about the scores, but we can take a look at it real quick. That week, nobody made more than 5 points. Well, actually, no, I take that back. One person made 6, and that was just because he guessed really close to the score. But otherwise, nobody made more than 5 points, which means that nobody guessed more than one match correctly.
Wow.
Wow.
I will say what is interesting, and it's really funny because Amanda, you have a knack for guessing things that nobody else guesses. Now you will get things that everybody else gets wrong.
Yes.
But you will also like you were the only one that picked Michael to beat Stephanie Izard. And you were the only one that picked Kalina to beat Showdown.
Really?
Oh.
Okay.
Yes. So, like I said, you will often get points for matches that nobody else gets points for. But then you'll balance it out by not picking the things that everybody else gets points for.
Like I said, I based it on their Instagrams.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was an interesting strategy. If you could just, figure out, how to, keep the good and get rid of the bad, then, you'd be doing pretty good.
I'll be gold.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I will say I'm not gonna share you guys' scores. I'll just say they're on the lower end.
Yeah.
They're not the lowest. That's actually Lauren.
Oh.
But I mean, he actually had 2 weeks in a row where he got 0 points.
Oh no.
So yeah. Actually, after having his first 2 weeks were pretty good. But then he had 2 weeks in a row where he got nothing. So yeah. But it's I mean, it's all just for fun. We're all just doing our best and trying to figure out what we think chefs will do, and sometimes we're really right and sometimes we're very, very wrong. But so let's go ahead. I will say, so with who we currently have, based on pitch your mind back to before this current round of matches played, who did you guys think was probably going to be in the finals and win the whole thing?
Definitely Antonia. First of all, if she doesn't, I think it would just kill her.
I know. I'm afraid she might implode. Every
single judging, every time I see her, it's like she's gonna die.
She's like, I want this. I lost by 1 point. I really want this. To the point where, I mean, we'll talk about it, but the first match, Leanne Wong says, I want this more than anyone here. I'm like, have you met Antonia? I don't think anybody wants it more than Antonia. I just don't.
Like, she's almost scary at how much she wants. Like, I'm concerned for her well-being.
But okay, so Dan, okay, so you think Antonia is going to win, Amanda? Who do you think will be in that final with her?
The final, Britt.
Britt's on the same side.
I was thinking like when it's like the final battle. Oh, that's right. She's on the same side. Never mind. She's side. Oh, that's right. She's battling her. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I was wanting it to be Nene, but
we were both wanting.
Well, I mean, like I said, but before this started, you were thinking Nene and Antonia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if I thought it was going to be her. I thought Nene was going to make it to the final four for sure. Because I love her. Who else was it?
I think the only other person that you had picked over there was Leanne. So you would have had Leanne versus Nene.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I did think Leanne would make it.
I did too.
I honestly thought Britt would make it this far, and I didn't have her in my final four only because I had to have Showdown beat her, which didn't happen. So now I do believe that she's going to be. I think she's going to pull it off.
So you think that Britt's got it?
I think so.
You think she's going to win against Antonia?
Well, I mean, they do have to go against.
I will say that is
I don't. Other subject
that we can talk about at the end. Okay. But I was just trying to get your kind of predictions because we haven't really since you guys' original people got knocked out. It's like I will say right now my projection had Britt and Sarah Bradley in the final with Britt pulling it out. I will say I am not 100% about that, but that is what I have currently projected. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's get into the matches for this week. So we had in our first match, we had Joe Sasto versus Leanne Wong. All right. And I will say, as far as our predictions for this episode, first of all, you two picked the exact same people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we did that on all four
I think we
of them.
did, yeah.
You guys were only one off from me.
Oh, okay.
So I only picked one person different than you guys did. So for the most part, we're on the same page here. And I mean we'll talk more about those things later. But so we have Joe Sasto versus Leanne Wong. So obviously you guys have seen both of these two's progress to this point. Leanne winning her first match, knocking out Jonathan Sawyer in her second match. Here now against Joe Sasto. Joe Sasto obviously winning his first match and then knocking out Jet, which I mean the way that he knocked him out, because it was like after
their battle
Jet's
was my favorite that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I was saddened by the result, it was quite a match because after hearing Jet's judging, everybody thought it was done. They thought it was over. They thought Joe didn't have a prayer.
They all thought it was like ridiculous. Like, oh, he's making a burger.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, even in his prep, they were like, this is a bad idea. I can't believe he's grinding this steak. But I mean, I even told my friend Maxwell as we were, talking about it, watching him make that burger, the marbling that he got in that burger, that looked like a really good burger. And I mean, obviously it was because he won. So obviously both of these people have been impressing so far. Now I will say we all three picked Leanne to win this. Let's see, it looks like my projection was Leanne by 83 to 82. So Amanda, you had
No, I think I put Joe.
Oh yeah, you did. Okay,
yeah.
I
am because of the way
incorrect.
Jet.
Yes. So you actually you and Dan did have one difference. So you and I have two differences, Amanda.
Okay.
So yeah, you had Joe 91 to 90, and Dan, you had Leanne 90 to 88. So you're all you're projecting good high points for this match. I will say I have been scared away from that because I keep picking high points and then they keep lowballing me. So I'm like,
getting shocked at some of the low scores. I'm like, how?
So we're in this.
I know, because they'll have hardly any negative comments, and then it'll come at 79, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What is their scoring here? But anyway, so yeah, like I said, Dan and I have both picked Leanne to win this, and Amanda's got Joe. So they spin the wheel, and we land on duck breast for the protein, white eggplant for the for the veg. Yes, produce.
The veg.
They had to use a bamboo steamer, had to be fresh and fried, and they had to use umeboshi.
That was like the sour plum.
Yeah, it's a well, I have it written down here. It is a dried salted plum.
Dried salted plum. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I saw all the ingredients, I was like, well, Mama Wong's got this one.
Yeah.
It does kind of seem a little bit, I mean, the steamer and the umeboshi definitely kind of seem tilted to, I mean, Joe even said.
Yeah, and the duck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, duck, I think could go either way.
All ways, but I mean, eggplant also really was kind of lending it.
Sure.
I will say though, when it comes to duck, though, I can only think of Japanese and Chinese dishes. Like I go Asian when I think of duck. I do not. I mean, the other option, I guess, would be French.
I was going to say French is where my mind goes. That's probably because I've been to France and I got a lot of duck there.
Okay.
So yeah, I definitely think more French. But
I think duck
do
curry,
get
and
your thinking. Yeah. Sure. So they get the wheel, and like you said, Joe said that he always feels nervous when he feels like the randomizer is in his opponent's wheelhouse. But he did beat Jet on takeout, which is very much Jet's wheelhouse. So he was like, maybe I can do it again. But he definitely knows he's starting from the back foot. So they are working on their dishes. Joe decides to make a fresh and fried Vietnamese inspired duck platter with umeboshi sauce. So he's definitely going, an Asian preparation. And then Leanne makes roasted and steamed duck breast with fresh and fried white eggplant and umeboshi dressing. And I will say Leanne is, as we see, just starts steaming everything, which I'm thinking that's really going to help her as far as randomizer points go, because she is, using the crap out of this steamer. And Joe's definitely using it too, but he's also deep frying things and using some slightly other preparations. I mean, I'm guessing that he's probably in terms of comfortability with the bamboo steamer, Leanne probably is just a little bit more comfortable. She's probably used it just a little bit more than Joe has.
And used it in plating too.
That was brilliant.
Was
it was so smart. It really was. Actually, I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit at the end, but yeah, it was a really smart idea. So they've got the Leanne uses two preparations on the eggplant. I want to ask, were you guys familiar at all with white eggplant?
I've never heard of white eggplant. No.
Yeah, I've never had it.
I definitely haven't had it. I can't remember. Like I'm definitely familiar with like white asparagus. Which is, it's like a thicker asparagus, and it has I don't know, like it's hard to describe, but it's like it's hard to, I will say it's not as fibrous as green asparagus, but there definitely is a fibrousness to it.
I mean, when I looked at it, I mean, I was trying to remember how regular eggplant looks and feels and tastes, and this did look thicker.
Yeah, well, and I think that they said white eggplant is not as bitter as typical eggplant.
Okay.
Yeah,
towards the top of it.
Okay, that would explain the fresh salad that she made with it.
Right. Well, because eggplant you really can't serve raw, but white eggplant apparently you can,
or at least lightly steamed.
Right. Well, I think she had. Well, because she had to have a fresh and fried element, so she had fresh eggplant, so uncooked. And so definitely had that going. Let's see. Leanne ends up paying a lot of attention to her duck. I mean, obviously, Joe is giving it, what it is necessary, but Leanne spends a lot of her time working with that duck, just kind of making sure that it is kind of just perfect, which, you kind of have to, because duck is one of those things. If it's not perfect, it's not great.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. Did Joe grind his to make this?
He had a ground duck element, but I think it was like included in
that in his
something else. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because he had. I forgot he did the egg roll. Yeah, that's right. He had like a build your own spring roll type of,
because he did the build your own, and then he had the fried one.
Yeah, right. Because when they finished the dishes, I looked at. Okay, so no. The fried egg roll was later. I think that was with Kevin's.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he did. Joe did do like a build your own Vietnamese spring roll.
Right, I remember that for sure.
That's right.
So do you guys remember like the looks of the dishes? Did you have a preference for either one?
I loved the one that I loved Damie Wong's with the putting it in a
Leanne's.
Leanne's with the little
I
mini
love the
steamer.
little
in the steamer.
That was brilliant.
It was a brilliant idea. It really was. I will say, I was definitely more into Leanne's. I thought that Joe's looked good, but I was siding with Leanne on this one.
I wanted everybody's fried eggplant though, because I love fried eggplant.
Yeah, because she did a tempura batter on it.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Oh, that's right. Well, for her fried element. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I wanted that.
Yeah. So in the judging, I will say at this point, they've pretty much given up letting us guess, because in these later matches, the judges keep doing things that I guess they just really want in the previews. So like the judges will have, you know, some big reaction to one of these dishes that the editor just really wants to keep in the preview. I will say though, this one was a little different because in the past we have been able to see like a couple of judges. This time the only one I knew definitely was Kat Cora. But we also get Ming Tsai, and apparently, huh?
I really liked him.
Yeah, I will say it's interesting because in this episode, and this isn't always the case, but he seemed like, not to say that the others weren't, but he seemed like the friendlier of the judges. Like he seemed a lot more open with the positives than I mean, obviously the others definitely gave a lot of positives, but it felt like he gave less credit. In fact, there were a couple of times, we'll talk about it, where he flat out was like, nope, they're wrong, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I like his voice. He just has a really pleasant speaking voice.
Yeah, no, he really does. He's got a great voice.
Remarkable.
And like a voice kind of like, and this is gonna sound horrible because they're both Asian, but it has nothing to do with that. But it's a voice that you wouldn't expect to come from him, kind of like George Takei.
I was thinking that also. Like they both just have very like rich,
just this wonderful, rich, smooth voice. They both kind of have that. I mean, obviously, Ming Tsai's is not that deep, but you know, it is. You know, there's a richness to it that you just don't really expect. But yeah, it's really, really nice voice. But yeah, and then we also had, apparently for the first time judging in Tournament of Champions, Iron Chef Michael Simon, which I can't believe that he hadn't judged previously, just because Michael Simon is kind of like a mainstay in Food Network. Like, honestly, one of the reasons that I get so annoyed that Bobby Flay is everywhere is because of Michael Simon. Like, seriously, I'm like, we have Michael Simon. You do realize this, right? He's got the chops of Bobby Flay, but he's not Bobby Flay.
How is Bobby Flay still doing stuff? Because like I remember him from over 20 years ago.
Oh, he's been there since like the inception of the network.
Yeah,
and it might be a really long time since I've seen him, but did he always look like? Howie Mandel?
Michael Simon.
Michael Simon.
I mean, he's had a shaved head ever since I've seen him. I haven't. I mean, I think he became Iron Chef. Ooh, I think he was one of the. Oh, actually, no. I think he won the first Next Iron Chef competition.
Oh, okay.
But like, talk about like, there was a period of time. I mean, when Iron Chef America first came around, there was a period of time where I felt like every chef would choose Bobby Flay, and I'm just like, seriously?
Mm-hmm.
We've got all these other chefs. Choose, for crying out loud, choose Morimoto. You're gonna lose horror.
I freaking love Morimoto. He was my favorite.
Great.
Same. But I'm like, choose anybody else. There was a time when Michael Simon rivaled Bobby Flay for who got chosen, and I was fine with it because it was Michael Simon. But yeah, so Michael Simon is the judge. Super excited because I love Michael Simon. And so they are trying the dishes here. And so let's see. So for Leanne's, Ming said it was delicious. He's a big fan of the dish. Kat Cora said that there was a lot going on, which I couldn't really tell if she was meaning that as a negative or a positive. I mean, it doesn't really necessarily sound like a positive, but I couldn't tell if she was saying that like there really shouldn't be this much going on, or if it was just like a statement, like there's a lot going on, you know. And then Michael thought that the duck should have been rendered more. So, you know, I'm a little nervous for Leanne at this point. So then we get into Joe's, and you know, Tiffany, I believe it was Tiffany. No, Justin. Justin is talking for Joe, and he is like, you know, you can, all the elements are here. You can build your own spring roll. And right away, Michael, not a big fan of having to build his own.
I didn't come here to work.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of get it, especially from a judging standpoint. I will say I'm kind of like the type of person, like a lot of times at Mexican restaurants, I like to order like the carnitas or something like that, where you're given the elements and you can build your own taco.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand the draw of that, but at the same time, I mean, I will say I kind of like the idea of building your own spring roll, but I also kind of get where Michael's coming off. It's like, we're here to judge.
That was kind of what I was thinking when I saw he was doing the builder, and I was like, oh, that's not gonna work.
I mean, I will say I've seen chefs do that in the past, and it's actually worked well for them. But I think that Michael just wasn't a huge fan of the concept. But
they didn't have like it was too many elements to put together on your own to be like, okay,
sure.
Now it's like, is it me that's making this a great dish, or did you do any work here?
Right,
like providing me with some lettuce and a thing.
Makes you wonder. It's like, okay, did you just do this to save yourself some time? Like, did you not have enough to put this together for me? You know. I will say I believe that he ended up liking the dish. He just wasn't, you know, a huge fan of having to put his own.
He's like, I did not want to work.
Right.
And it comes off a little different when it's a judge saying that, of like, you know, you give like, you know, oh, here's a plate with some ingredients on it. You can build your own taco. It's just like, well, I'm a expert chef and I'm here to judge other expert chefs. You need to do this for me, so I can see what you can do with these ingredients, not what I can do with these ingredients.
Kat, I think, also enjoyed the dish, but she felt that it was a little too greasy. Ming, this was one of the times that he was like, nope,
like, nope,
you guys are wrong. It was great. I loved it all. And I'm like, all right, we see where Ming is. He did think that overall Joe had a better cook on the duck than Leanne did. So I will say I was a little nervous, but I felt like Leanne had a slight edge. What did you guys think?
Absolutely.
That's how I thought also, is like I thought it was going to be very, very close. But I felt like they were leaning more towards Leanne.
I felt that twice, like once when the randomizers hit, and I'm like, okay, this is
as
Leanne's.
Soon as it was like quite clearly like Asian influence style of foods,
and then,
it's like, oh well, she's got this.
And then once Ming was one of the judges of the first one coming out, it was like, well, that's another tick in her favor.
Right. I will say, looking at this picture, it looks like he had kind of like a spring roll already built, but then they also could make their own. So
he had his own spring roll, and then there was like, because that was the fried portion.
Yeah, he had to do fresh and fried, so he built the fried one and then gave you the ingredients.
Had a fresh one that you could create yourself. So in the final scoring, Leanne did end up winning it by 3 points, 87-84. She actually won every category, won by 1 point. Well, okay. First of all, Guy, he gets up there and he was like, they were separated by 1 point in every category. And Joe was like 1 point, and he's like in every category, and it's like
at that point, it's like, oh, dang it.
Well, that could still mean 1 point. Like it's like I ranked 1 point higher. You ranked 1 point on this one, but there was a third category, and I ranked 1 point.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, but yeah, no.
He phrased it a little odd.
Yeah, Leanne beat him in every category by 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she beat him 43-42 in taste, 35-34 in the randomizer, and 9-8 in presentation. I mean,
I don't know how she didn't get a full 10 on the presentation because she used those little steamers.
Because I've never seen them do a 10. I mean, honestly, the presentation on Jet and Joe's was
that's what I was gonna say. Like their presentation
absolutely
is my
perfect
favorite.
Like you
couldn't have,
and it was still only 9s for both of them. So yeah, I think it was basically just, I mean, you look at Joe's and it looks nice, but it definitely looks like a platter, which next to that steamer, it's just there's not a lot of contest there. I will say when they talked to the judges afterwards, the one thing that they said about why they chose Leanne's was they just loved that she served it in that steamer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was definitely a smart decision in her case. But let's go ahead and let's get to the second match here. So we have Britt Rossino versus Kalina Bliss. Britt Rossino, obviously, number 1 seed, one of the only ones left in the competition, has been doing really well, but I will say she hasn't been scoring super high. So I've been concerned. And then Kalina Bliss, on the other hand, has actually scored really well, especially for a first timer. Has, gotten all the way to the quarterfinals in her very first year in the competition. So she's actually really been impressing me. I will say this is the one match that I was the most concerned. Like, I actually was like, should I change my bracket? Should I pick Kalina here? Like, I really wasn't certain, just because she felt like she had kind of a hot hand, and Britt, while being very successful and honestly making some really good looking dishes, she just hadn't scored that high. So I was a little on the fence here. I will say, I believe that we all 3 picked Britt here. Is that
I think
correct?
so, yeah. I know I did, and I think you did too. Yeah.
Yeah. So we all picked Britt. I will say I forgot to look at the scores to compare the last one. So the final score was 87-84. Amanda, sorry you don't count there because you chose the wrong person. Mine, I was way too low, and
too high.
Yeah, you were a little too high. So yeah, nobody got really close on that last match. But in this one, so let's see, for Kalina versus Britt, I said 85-84. I was picking a lot of 1-point games, mainly just because I had been really impressed with a lot of these chefs, and I had a hard time seeing anybody blowing anybody out. So yeah, I went 85-84 for Britt. Let's see, Amanda, you have 88-84, which we'll see. And then Dan, you had 92-89. So really high scoring match.
I was expecting something big out of this one because it's like one of our first 1 seeds.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I mean, we're expecting big things. So getting into the match, so let's see, they spin the randomizer and we get beef oyster steak as the protein, avocado as the produce. They had to use a Pizelle press. It had to be fruity and nutty, and they had to use longanisa sausage, which I was not familiar with.
I had
think
never
they
heard of
likened
that
it.
either.
I think they likened it to like a Chinese sausage, which I will say I have had Chinese sausage, and that is like a very number one, it's really good, but it's not like, it tastes like sausage, but it's got like a different texture. Like it's very different. But like, good, very good.
Yeah. I felt like that random element really fought against them. I was looking at the dish, like at the dishes they made, and even when they it wasn't a complaint at the end, because I'm sure these are expert chefs, they know how to handle it, but that was like a lot of meat on the plate, in my opinion. It's like you had those steaks.
Well, I mean, they've got the steak and the sausage that have to both be
a lot of
included.
protein on there.
Sure,
and it had to be in all the dishes.
Yeah. I will say, I think the one that especially Kalina said kind of threw her for a loop was avocado.
I was surprised somebody went with a fajita. Like, you got steak, you got a sausage, you can make that into a chorizo of some sort, I'm guessing, or something like that, and just like kind of dip into it. You're doing international cuisine here.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Brit for the most part is going to typically go Italian, just because that's kind of her background. It's what she knows, and it's what she excels at. And Kalina, also, she often goes with Asian food, but she's not afraid to change it up.
I forget. So is this the one where the judging had said that Brits was like safe, where they felt it was...
we're gonna get to that, because I honestly had a lot of questions about the judging. But yeah, so Brit ends up making a fruity and nutty farotto with seared beef oyster steak and herb and frisee salad. Now, I will say that farotto was compared by just about everybody to like a risotto.
Yeah.
So using a different I mean, it's farro. So it's a different grain, but it's just kind of, treated, like a risotto, which we all know how finicky risotto is in cooking competitions. Well, I actually, I don't know. Have you guys seen many cooking competitions?
I mean, I've seen lots of them. I mean, I've made risotto, and it takes a whole heck of a lot of attention.
And
exactly.
If you're on the one or two spots that it's been done on this competition, we've heard the pushback of like, you're doing a risotto?
Yes. You don't have time to, because you got to sit there and stir it nonstop.
Well, I mean, a guy went out a couple weeks ago when Dale Taldy did a risotto, and that's what took him out, because they were like, it's fine, but you didn't give it the love and attention that it needed because you needed to do other things. So yeah, it's a risky thing. I'm wondering though if farotto is as finicky. Maybe it's a little bit hardier, and therefore
I want to say farro is like a tougher grain.
And she did it in the pressure cooker too, right?
Oh, I think you're right. I think she did. Yes, she definitely did use the pressure cooker, and I think it was for that farotto. So I think you're right.
That might have kept it from being like she had to slave over it.
Yeah, because the thing about the rice is like, because the rice itself is milky.
Yeah,
and that's why you have to like constantly stir it. And I feel like since farro is a little firmer, that you don't have that.
Well, and obviously, it was a question of a time constraint, because that's why you use a pressure cooker, because it's not going to be done in the time that you have unless you use a pressure cooker. So yeah, I mean, obviously that is a risk, because how often have we seen in cooking competitions where somebody tries to use a pressure cooker and something happened in the seal or something and it just doesn't turn out. I will say this season, actually, we've been pretty lucky, because every person we've seen use the pressure cooker so far, knock on wood, it has worked out for them. But it's always a gamble, and they say every time, I'm taking a big risk. We'll see. But yeah, so Kalina ends up making avocado and herb grilled oyster steak with spetzel, cashew cream, and fruity salad. Now, I will say, the moment I heard she was making spetzel, my ears perked up.
I've never heard of spetzel, so I didn't know what it was.
It's like, I mean, it's more like a German Scandinavian noodle type of preparation, but it's basically like you have like a dough, and you just kind of work it through like holes into your boiling liquid, and you make these tiny, oddly shaped dumplings. And it's often very seasoned very well and very flavorful. I love a good spetzel. When I went over to Germany, that was one of the things that I ordered several times. I got like a Wiener Schnitzel and schnitzel. Wiener Schnitzel specifically veal, but a schnitzel and spetzel. And it's just with like a sauce. It's hard to beat. It's really good stuff. So yeah, she's got that going on. So I'm really intrigued with this. So then we get into both of their uses of the Pizelle press, and Kalina ends up using it to make her sausage, which I thought actually was pretty was pretty innovative. But then Britt, I think that she did also use it a little bit on her sausage, but she used it mostly to actually make a Pizelle, which is, like a it's like a
combination between a cookie and a pancake.
And it's highly designed. That's why it's got a specific press. But she used it to make a Pizelle, but not just a regular Pizelle, because Pizzelles are typically sweet. This one she made was savory, which I actually thought, that I think is really creative. I thought that was a really good use.
And the Pizzelles look really yummy. I'd never even heard of a Pizzelle before, but I wanted one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd never heard of it.
Pizzelles are great. Yeah. I've had, like I said, they're I mean, Dan's analogy, honestly, was kind of perfect. It's kind of like a mix between like a pancake and a cookie. So it's like stiff,
like a waffle?
like a cookie,
like a waffle cone.
Oh yeah. Honestly, it like the taste kind of reminds me of a waffle cone.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking it up. Yeah, it looks like a waffle cone,
designed and stylized.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like a lot of these things, since I have a milk allergy, I haven't had a whole lot of Italian things.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, so let's see. They're both playing it really smart, doing some creative things. Kalina uses her sausage fat to cook her mushrooms in, which I thought was
brilliant.
Yeah.
I remember that and just being like, oh, I want those mushrooms because I freaking love mushrooms.
Yeah. Britt's pressure cooker pays off. So in looking at the final dishes, I'm asking, whose do I want? And I will say, like, in building the steps, I'm looking at Britt's thinking, this looks amazing. But then and this is a personal thing, she put a lot of salad on top.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm just not a big salad person.
I understand why she did it though, because when she talked it through, but she may not have mentioned it, but when I was looking at it and I was going back to like, there's so much protein on this plate. There's so much.
It was
rich.
protein, fat, lots of richness. She needed that kind of she needed the brightness of the greens to counterbalance it. And I get that. I'm just saying from a personal standpoint, when I see all those greens, and then I look at Kalina's, which also looks amazing, and it's got Spätzle. I'm leaning a little bit towards Kalina's.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know Britt's would knock my socks off as well. But I leaned slightly toward Kalina's. Did you guys have a preference?
I leaned toward Kalina's. It just looked like more like something I would want to eat better.
Sure.
I'm racking my brain trying to think of what Kalina's looked like, because I just remember what Britz's looked like with that pile of salad and those
Sure
chips.
Yeah, like the chip. The thing with Britt's is like there were elements of hers that I wanted.
Oh, okay.
Because like I wanted the little Pizelle chips. I wanted those.
Yes.
And then I wanted.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Britt is a genius at creating those like extra elements that kind of draw you in. Like in her first round, she made that like deep fried like green.
Yeah, the kale piece, I think it was, or something like that.
Yeah, like it was a deep fried kale or green or something like that I'm just like, okay, I want it.
Mm-hmm.
I want it. And it was the same thing with that Pizelle chip, like you said.
But to that point, the Spätzle, I mean, that was a little stroke of genius. You don't think of that when you look at that randomizer and like
no. Well, and her use of the fruit, because she used like a dried
apricot.
I can't remember if it was apricot.
Rehydrated apricots.
Right. So, I mean, I thought that because she actually was struggling with the use of the fruit. And I think she actually did something really creative and innovative there. So in getting into the judging, they look at Kalina's first. Ming loved it. He said it wasn't fine dining, but he didn't really like it. Wasn't like a negative. It was just like pointing it out. And I will say,
Kalina was like, yes, I specialize in rustic.
I was about to say, Kalina was like, that's not really what I do. I do rustic food. Yeah. And then well, I will say, I say it wasn't negative, but we'll get to it. Kat really enjoyed it. Michael said he could eat it all day. The one negative that he said was that he didn't really taste the avocado. Like he acknowledged that it was there, but he didn't taste it.
Right.
And her reaction to that in the trailer was like, it doesn't taste
like anything.
I honestly think if she had put enough for them to be a color change, because I think that was the key, was that puree was gorgeous looking, but I'm like, I can't tell by looking at it that there's any avocado in it. If you could, if there's just enough of a little green in there.
Yeah. I will say I'm kind of with Kalina there. Like I don't mind avocado, but I don't seek it out. To me, it tastes like oil. That's what avocado is like.
I mean, it's a pretty high fat fruit.
Yeah,
and we
probably why I like it as much as I do.
we are guacamole fiends.
I freaking love avocado.
Yeah. So then we get into Britt's judging, and Michael says that it is good, but he says that it feels direct. Like he said, I look at the randomizer and it just feels like a direct translation from the randomizer to the plate.
Yeah.
Kat kind of echoes that. and says it's successful, but it feels safe.
Mm-hmm.
Ming, once again, he's the note of positivity. He's like, he really likes the fruity and nutty pops. So I'm listening to this judging, and I don't know about you, I'm feeling like it's leaning toward Kalina.
It felt like that to me after the judging.
So too.
Especially with two of the judges saying that Brits felt safe.
Well, what it made me think of was the battle with, I think, Tobias.
Yes,
where
the very first one.
Sure.
He got eliminated because, everything he did was perfect because he didn't take any chances, and it was just like, okay, well, he did what was expected of this dish, but that's not what this is for.
Yeah, so it's like it's like, oh, you got clams or mussels, or I forget what it was. It's like, all right, you cooked exactly how you were supposed to cook those. And it's like, oh, if you gonna include fennel anywhere in this dish, it would be here, and you did that. And it's like the quinoa is in the plate because it was on the randomizer. You cooked it perfectly, but it's just like, here's the perfectly cooked quinoa over here, and then here's the perfectly cooked mussels over here. That's how you do mussels. That's how you do quinoa. And I think that feeling is like, maybe that's what they meant by that was the echo we were getting in this one with like, it's so direct. It's like, this is how you make.
Well, especially because like it felt a lot more obvious here. Like it was like, she's not taking chances. It's like I just felt like they were leaning toward Kalina. So we get the final scores, 88-85, and I'm like, whoa, okay. Brit wins. And here's the thing, I'm excited because I picked Brit, but I'm actually scratching my head, to be honest, because based on what we heard, now again, obviously there has been editing done. They never, but this is the first time in at least the competition. There was definitely once in the qualifier that I felt confident one way and it ended up being judged the opposite way. But this is the first time in the competition that it felt pretty, like, I'm not saying decisively, but it felt pretty strongly leaning towards Kalina. And then Brit wins by 3 points.
Yeah, that was like,
I was surprised also.
Yeah. So, to break down the score, 88-85, and Brit actually won in every category. 42-41 in taste, 37-36 in the randomizer, and 9-8 in the presentation. Now I will say, no. It's 1 point in every category. So yeah, I was surprised, and I mean, I feel like Kalina was a little surprised too.
Yeah.
I mean,
because
to be honest, I think Brit was.
Yeah, I mean, in her match with Michael Reed, she flat out said, "I thought you won." So, I mean, honestly, in that one, I actually because it was Michael that made the risotto. That's what it was.
Yeah,
it was Michael made the risotto. So, and yeah, it just wasn't. And based on everything that I heard, I was like, Brit's got this. And then, in the judging, or in the final thing, she seemed shocked and then flat out told him, "I thought you had it." And I was just like, again, there's got to be things that we aren't hearing from the judges. That, are, so, but yeah, I mean, Kalina was disappointed, but also excited that she'd done so well. So yeah, I mean, I really hope that she gets to come back, because really impressive.
She was really good.
Yeah,
really impressive. I honestly think that she could go much further in later competitions. But when they talked to the judges, Ming, and here's the thing. Again, they're only sharing one note, but apparently they thought this was the note worth sharing in the editing. Ming said that he didn't feel like Kalina's plating was high scale enough.
Oh yeah, they did harp on
and
that.
I'm just like, I don't.
Well, nowhere in the randomizer did it say it had to be high scale.
I mean, if it had specifically been like, upscale dinner, that'd be one thing. But I think that we've seen it before where we'll see kind of a rustic dish and kind of a 5-star, Michelin star restaurant dish, and it gets beat by the rustic dish just because it fits the randomizer better, or it's just you judge those things on different scales. I don't get that, and I honestly really hope
seems like
that
a very
doesn't
odd critique. Just it seems like it comes out of the blue because it doesn't seem to relate to any of the it doesn't really relate to the randomizer. Maybe it's just a preferential thing. Maybe it's something about the ingredients. It's like, is oyster what's the called oyster beef?
Oyster beef steak.
Also, and again, this is all based on what we were allowed to see.
Yeah.
It, but it doesn't set Britt up great, because even though she got a good score, the judging didn't sound great for her.
Yeah.
So it's like,
where do you go with that?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's nothing to learn from this. It's just I beat her.
Because the way it makes it sound,
anything out of this.
She beat her because she went fancier. And it's like, that's not a great message.
Yeah.
But either way, Britt is moving on to the next round. So then getting into the third match, so we had Nene Nguyen versus Sarah Bradley. And
we love Nene.
Once again,
we love Nene.
We freaking love Nene.
I mean, I talked about it last week. I got a bit of a crush on Nene Nguyen. She's cute.
I love her so much.
She is so entertaining.
She's great. But here's the thing. Sarah is a natural to me. Like, she got in there and she's calm. She is always composed. She entertains. She's just like, she's just a so, I mean, I had Sarah. I think that they're both talented chefs. I just feel like Sarah, based on what I've seen, is like a step above. Like, I think
she is more experienced.
Easily get there. Yeah, I
openly admit that she's like, Sarah is who I would call for something like this.
Exactly. Yeah, she definitely sees Sarah in a bit of a mentor type of role. But I mean, Sarah even said it.
I love her so much. I hate that she's here.
No, I mean,
oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, Sarah even said it last week, because last week she battled David Viana.
Yeah.
And you could tell that the two of them were friends. They'd battled in Top Chef previously, and to the point where Sarah actually saved David. Like, if it hadn't been for Sarah talking him out of making 2 dishes, she probably would have won by a wider margin than she did. As it ended up, it was only by 1 point. But she even said, she was like, as close as I am with David, I am 10 times closer with Nene. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be and you could tell.
I mean, it was like essentially she was battling her baby sister.
Yeah, you could tell that they really liked each other and they really cared about each other. So yeah, getting to the actual, I will say, actually, we need to take a quick look at the points, because I think on the last one, We might have had
someone here got it spot on for one of the winners.
Yeah. So the actual score, let's pull this back up, was 88 to 85. So I will say for actually I was 1 point off with Kalina, and 3 points off with Britt. But yes, Amanda, you had Kalina with 84, so only 1 point off, but you hit Britt dead on with 8 points. So that is a whopping 3 points for you. Dan, you were off. You were actually
a little high.
Yeah, your Kalina score was 1 point off of Britt's.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we all picked it right. This one though, you guys both picked Nini. Yes, and I will say last week I wished that I had picked Nini. I felt it in my gut, but for some reason I just didn't do it. And once again, I'm picking against Nini, but I honestly felt pretty strongly that Sarah was gonna get this one. So I had 83 to 80 in favor of Sarah. Amanda, you have 87 to 89 in favor of Nini. That's Amanda. So Dan, you have 86 to 82 in favor of Nini.
I wanted to put 100 for Nini, but I wanted to be realistic.
Yeah. Don't think. I mean, I think the most anybody has ever scored is either like a 94 or maybe a 95. And that's like once. As you've seen, it's rare anybody scores in the 90s. Mm-hmm. I think in earlier tournaments it happened a little bit more often, but definitely recently it's pretty rare. So getting into this, so they spin the randomizer and we get picanha, which is a type of steak, matsutake mushrums, Dutch pancake maker, which is basically like it's a full like station. Like it's not just like a pan. It is like a pan on top of a stand. Like it's a whole mechanism. Let's see. They had the style was salt and vinegar, and they had to use a rhea egg, which is basically a very large egg around the size, like I think a little smaller than an ostrich egg. Yeah.
Smaller than an ostrich egg.
Yeah.
Yes. Smaller than an ostrich egg, not an ostrich itself. But an ostrich.
Well, it's still smaller than an ostrich. So
yeah. That's true. But it's quite a bit smaller than an ostrich. But yeah. So Sarah ends up making roasted picanha steak with Dutch baby pancakes and grilled matsutake mushrooms. And Nini makes a grilled picanha steak with rhea egg matsutake mushroom bon cat. So Nini is has those Vietnamese roots, so she's definitely using that. So Nini actually uses the mushrooms to make a broth, and I will say she was a little worried about that because she was like, I love these mushrooms, they're beautiful mushrooms, but it's gonna make a really nice broth too. I wonder, did she use the mushroom in any other way than just the broth?
Did she put it in her little pancakes?
I thought you did that too. Yeah,
she might have.
I think she added.
I will say that the judges mentioned that they felt like there should have been more mushroom in hers. Yeah. So I mean that definitely, maybe obviously they believe that she should have used it more. I honestly think that using it for the broth, it was a good idea. Maybe though she shouldn't have taken them out of the broth. Maybe they should have been included in there, or something. Yeah. I will say, I've only in the last few years really started to appreciate mushrooms, but yeah, these matsutake mushrooms, yeah, they definitely had me interested. So Sarah ends up using the Dutch pancake maker for in a couple of different ways. She makes her Dutch baby pancakes, but she also uses them to cook her mushrooms, which I actually thought was
very
innovative.
Smart. I remember seeing that, and that was like, oh
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, she also as part of her salt and vinegar uses black vinegar, which apparently is a very potent.
Sweeter, or gotcha.
Yeah, I think so, but it's got like a very strong flavor of vinegar. And then I have just a random note. Rhea eggs are huge.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
I think Nene actually broke open one and used it for like 3 different things.
Or like when she pulled out the yolk and she's like, "You want to hold it?"
But yeah, Nene used the Dutch pancake maker to make like a Vietnamese mini pancake. Let's see. So Nene also made that's right. So towards the end, she decided that she wanted to include a hollandaise. But she put it off to the side, and when she went to use it, she realized that it had broken.
And so I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Okay, so what that means, if you've probably seen it if you've ever made sauce. What that means is that the sauce has separated. A lot of times, if you use butter in any sort of sauce,
how it'll end up on top.
You'll see kind of the butter separate a bit. Now you can actually mix it back together,
but she couldn't have time.
Once it's broken,
like seconds.
Yeah. I will say once it's broken, that's kind of its default state. You can mix it and it will hold for a little bit.
It wouldn't have lasted till the judgment.
No, exactly. And I mean, hollandaise honestly is a little bit more finicky than some of the sauces that I've
made it like once, and yes, it is very finicky.
Sure. Yeah. But I mean, it is a beautiful sauce if you can make it correctly, but it can be risky because it's honestly very easy to break. But yeah, so she ended up not using it and instead just used the sauce that she had made with the mushrooms, like a jus type of thing. Which honestly, I was like, if you've got the jus, I don't know that you really needed the hollandaise.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just another way to use the Rhea egg, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I really think that was the main reason that she wanted it there. So, Sarah, I believe, she also made a sauce using the Rhea egg, but she made an aioli, which I will say when Nene saw that Sarah had done that, she was like, "Oh, I wish I had just made an aioli." So, there's that. So in getting to or seeing these final dishes, whose did you guys prefer?
Nene's.
Yeah, I mean, even
though I love her the most, I wanted both of them, but I really did like Nene's better.
I liked her pancakes a little bit. They looked lighter and crispier. It looked like they were going to be a little more flavorful, even though Sarah's was using the mushrooms in hers and was really hitting 2 of the randomizers with her little Dutch things. I felt like eating them would have been a lot. It just would have been too much.
I liked Sarah's mushrooms better, but I liked Nene's steak better.
Okay. I will say there is something, and I mean, Sarah's mentioned it several times. she values simplicity when it comes to her cooking and her plating. And there is something about the simplicity of her plating that I find very attractive. Like, I just really appreciate, like, I look at her dish, and like Nini's looks amazing. Like, it's got like a nice sauce and everything, and it's well layered and built. But I look at Sarah's, and there's just something very, like I said, attractive about the simplicity of it. Also, she knows how to plate with a wood bowl. You know,
it's not an easy feat sometimes.
Apparently not. But like it really kind of drew me in. So I actually said Sarah's by a thin margin. I kind of, obviously I would have wanted both, but I would have grabbed for Sarah's first.
Can I just say on this match, not a lot of filming was involved with the steak. I mean, I almost forgot it was there.
Yeah.
Like they showed them like prep it in like 10 seconds at the beginning, and then then it was out of the way. Most of the filming was about the Dutch.
There was just just so much going on with all of the other elements.
Yeah,
there wasn't really much.
People know how to cook a steak.
Well, I mean, I think that in other things, like, maybe with the preparation, or other, maybe because they're having to tenderize it, I think that the preparation of the steak was just so straightforward, and all of the other elements were just so complicated. It did kind of draw away. But yeah, no, honestly, now that you mention it, I kind of noticed that as well. I didn't think about it until you said it just now, but yeah, no,
it was the plating at the end. I was like, oh, that's right, there's a steak in this.
Yeah,
there was just mushrooms, and that giant egg.
Yeah. So getting into the judging, they look at Sarah's first. Kat said that she likes it. She found it very elegant, and she felt like it was 99.9% of the way there, but she felt like it lacked salt and vinegar. Ming then mentions how much he likes the use of her black vinegar.
Of course he did. I like him.
Yeah. And Michael said that he loved the aioli and described it as fun to eat. So actually, Michael not having much of criticism on this one. For Nini's, Ming said that he loved the steak cook. Kat also enjoyed the cook, but wanted more mushrooms. And Michael agreed. So the judging at this point is feeling like it's leaning towards Sarah to me.
Yeah.
And I kind of got that feeling just because at the plating moment, and then she had a hollandaise and like couldn't use it, had to abandon it.
I will say in Antonia's first match, she made a thing and just forgot to plate it. But then obviously she, set the high score record for the time. So, sometimes things like that happen and it really doesn't mean anything. And I don't know that the hollandaise really would have.
It might have given her an extra point on the randomizer, but that's it.
Maybe, but in looking at the final scores, it ended up 86 to 90. Which, I mean, 86
is a really good score. I mean, that's higher than some of the others.
But 90, that's gonna be hard to beat. And Sarah did win the match. She won in every category. She actually won by 2 points in taste, 45 to 43, 1 point in the randomizer, 36 to 35, and 1 point in presentation, 9 to 8. So, honestly, like, Sarah, I think would have just been hard to beat in this match. But I mean, like we said, Nini put up a really good showing. It just, was not going to beat Sarah on this day. And there was no judges conference after this one. They just went straight into the next match. I will say most of the episodes since they've started this, conferring with the judges thing, they'll do like the first 3. I don't think this is the first time that they've skipped the third one, but for some reason they never talk about the fourth one. And I don't know, maybe it's because it's the end, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, honestly, especially like with Joe versus Jet, I kind of wanted to hear that a little bit,
Like, how good was that mushroom ketchup, really?
I mean, honestly, I think just the ingenuity of making that.
Yeah.
Unless it had just been awful, probably got him like a really good amount of points. But we are down to the final match. So our final match was Kevin Lee versus Antonio Lofaso. And I will say, excuse me, in the previews, they've kind of been playing this up a little bit like it might be an upset. And I'm like,
yeah. They kept calling him the Dragon Slayer.
I mean, that's been his nickname since he beat Brooke Williamson in the last tournament.
Yeah.
So, they are mentioning more his quest for redemption than Antonia's quest to get back to the title. So, there's that going on, but they also, right before, like earlier in the episode, they showed a clip where Antonia was like, there goes my fairy tale. And I'm like, crap, is that during judging? Something like to that effect. But that clip actually happens before the match even starts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, honestly, at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm actually feeling pretty confident now.
Mm-hmm.
If they had to pull a clip from before the match, that maybe Kevin might win. That's making me think that there's not a whole lot here to make us think Kevin might win.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's meta judging of like, okay, if the editors could only find this to manufacture
and I
some
mean,
sort of controversy.
Obviously nothing against Kevin. I had a bit of a vendetta against him last year because he took out Brooke Williamson in the first round, but I'm over that now. I'm happy for him to get as far as he can, but I'm definitely rooting for Antonia in this match. And so, we've already discussed it. Antonia just really wants this, and there's a big part of me that wants it for her. So I've definitely got her in this. I think both of you do as well.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the projection goes, I predicted 89 to 85 for Antonia. Let's see. So Amanda, you've got 93 to 91 for Antonia. High scoring match.
Yeah, I thought it would be like a big, it's the last battle, so it's going to be a really high score.
Sure. I mean, I will say that's not that far-fetched. That was the score for Joe versus Jet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dan, you have Antonio winning 91 to 87. So, some decent scores here, all picking Antonia. So getting into the actual match. Let's see. This is the only rematch. They make a big point about that. Antonia knocked Kevin out in last year's tournament. And honestly, they had gotten to a point where rematches were happening a lot. I think that's one of the reasons that they dismantled the East-West system. Because they were running into a lot of the same matches, and occasionally one would end differently than it had before, but a lot of times they were ending the same way. And it's like, it's getting a little monotonous. So, I'm definitely glad that they did that, but we did end up with a rematch here. I'm guessing that probably next year they probably won't put Antonia and Kevin in the same bracket. But they did this year. So they spin the randomizer and we get pork cheeks for the protein, which have you guys ever had any type of cheek preparation?
I don't think I have, no.
If I have, I don't remember it specifically.
I have had guanciale, which is pork cheek, but it's cured pork cheek, so it's kind of like a really rich, thick bacon.
Okay.
And like pork cheek, it's got a lot of it's a very flavorful protein. But it is tough as
Brett mentioned
Justin points out. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely something that you got to think about when you're working with. So their produce was flat beans. They had to use a pizza oven. It had to be smooth and crunchy, and they had to use Mamba peanut butter. Now, I will say I just now noticed they're having to use peanut butter, and the style is smooth and crunchy.
I thought that was funny. That I caught on to that.
Yeah.
And I will say this peanut butter honestly sounds like a peanut butter I want to try, because they said it's like a spicy,
really spicy
peanut butter. Yeah, which I'm like,
that, the way Guy talked about it made it sound like it was like legit, really spicy.
I'm wondering if it's like because I know when we stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge or no, Wilderness Lodge.
No, it was Animal Kingdom Lodge.
They had that buffet, and it's like a lot of African dishes and different things like that. And there was a peanut butter rice.
Oh my gosh, that stuff is so good.
And that's where my mind went to. Is just kind of like, oh, this an exotic, spicy, peanut buttery, and they can use that in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah. Well, where my brain goes to, and Kevin actually mentioned it, is like a peanut sauce.
That's what I was thinking.
I love a good peanut sauce.
Me too.
Really big fan. So I'm actually really intrigued by this peanut butter. So Antonia ends up making where's my thing? I scrolled down too far. Sorry. Of course I forgot to fill that out. Hold on. I will bring it up. So Antonia ends up making braised pork cheeks with a coconut, corn, and Mamba peanut butter puree.
It's so good.
Yeah. And chili flat beans. And I will say, Antonia was actually really excited about the flat beans.
I had not heard of beans before this.
Yeah, I mean,
this was the episode of a bunch of things I had never heard of.
Well, this is the
it was bent more international.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. There are definitely some things in there that we probably don't hear very often, because we probably don't get it a lot unless you are going to international food markets. So Kevin ends up making a pork cheek ragu and flat bean polenta topped with a pork cheek and cabbage egg roll.
That was
yeah. I will say I was I was intrigued by what Kevin was making, but I will say I thought an egg roll was an odd combination with this polenta thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's sounding very Italian, and then all of a sudden, here's an egg roll.
Right? Yeah, because he's got like you said, like we said, the ragu, which isn't 100% specifically Italian, but it definitely is. You know, a lot of people.
That's where my brain goes when I hear ragu.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because we think spaghetti sauce.
Yeah, and then you add in the polenta with it, then I'm definitely thinking Italian.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. But he decides he's going to make this egg roll, and he ends up grinding the pork cheek, and he talks about the fact that apparently Koreans like to use a lot of cheese, which I will say I was not actually aware of, because I don't know that I've actually come across a lot of cheese in the Korean food that I've gotten. But
mostly when I think of Korean, like I've been to Korean barbecue, and it's like I can't think of any cheese anywhere except for maybe like a little fondue pot, maybe. But that would be a separate thing. That would be,
Yeah, anytime I think of Korean food, like cheese is not the first thing that comes to mind. Like I always think of some form of beef.
He uses like I think it was like a provolone.
Yeah, they did say that.
Which, again, is more of like a creamy cheese, not so much flavorful.
Mm-hmm.
It's more just like a texture than a flavor.
With the smooth in there, and then the crunchy was the egg roll.
I think that definitely. But he seemed to be pretty bent on the fact that no, this is how we cook. This is Korean typical flavors, and I'm not. Obviously, I'm not going to argue with the Korean man about Korean food.
It's just more of a that is surprising. I didn't know this.
Yes, exactly.
But Koreans love Elvis Presley. What are you talking about? It's like they do. Okay, I guess they do.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
I would think that it would have worked better in the judging if he had done because he was like everything else on there was so Italian, and including the provolone in the egg roll was Italian. If it was an Italian egg roll, like actually muck it up with some
I was thinking how at Disney they have those cheeseburger spring rolls, or there'll be I've heard of pizza spring rolls.
But again, I don't think he was thinking of this as Italian.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Because, like I said, ragu, while we associate it with, ragu is basically it's just a meat sauce, and lots of different cultures use a meat sauce. So,
anybody can do that.
It's just the term that he chose to use. I will say with the polenta, it does kind of feel Italian, and then as you say, the provolone also kind of feels leaning that way, but I don't think that he was thinking that. I will say that even Tiffany pointed out that she thought that egg roll and polenta was an odd combination, as we said. So let's see. Antonia rolls the dice on the pressure cooker, and because she ends up putting her pork cheeks and all this kind of stuff in, and she basically says, she was like, if this does not work, I do not have a plan B. So I'm like, okay, not great, but it does end up working. So they've done this, they'll do this with everyone. We will see in between the battles, we'll see in the green room, people from maybe the next match that will play, the people who are playing watching, or if a match is done, the person that won watching the people who are playing to play them. So we're seeing Britt Rossino actually in the green room watching this match. And number one, she actually has, and I said this the last time that she was in there, I'm really enjoying her takes. She is one of the people to point out that pork cheek is tough, that it's a tough meat, and that you really have to kind of because as she points out, pigs chew a lot. So it's really something that you have to kind of work with. But one of another thing that she says is that she really wants to challenge herself by playing Antonia. And so match isn't even done, and I'm already getting fired up to see Britt versus Antonia.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's see. Antonia ends up roasting the beans in the pizza oven. I will say I didn't really note what Kevin used the pizza oven for. Obviously, he had to use it for something because it was one of the requirements.
I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I don't really remember. In looking at the final dishes, do you guys remember which one you preferred?
Antonia's.
I did prefer Antonia's.
The idea, I love the peanut butter and coconut combo.
Well, her corn puree, first of all, when she was making it, she was like, this is going to be great. I'm so excited about this. Like she was really excited. And I can't remember who her so she had Justin. I think Justin was also excited about like what she was doing. I know that they tasted it.
Justin reminds me of Lauren for some reason. Every single time, I mean, it's
Lauren. They both have that kind of smart, like nerdy in a good way.
Yes, exactly. It's like they have that energy, nerdiness, but a lot of charisma behind it.
Exactly. I kind of get
something I want to tell you about this, and you will find it interesting. I'm not gonna,
No, I mean they're excited about the things that they know.
Yeah,
and they want to. No, I get that. Lauren would get a kick out of that.
Oh yeah. I figured he'd like it.
So I will say, picking the dishes, I also was like, I want Antonia's, but I wanted to try Kevin's egg roll because I'm like, that just sounds like, I mean, because it was pretty typical of an egg roll with the pork cheek, which I'm definitely down for. But then with that cheese, I'm like, that sounds intriguing. I'd like to try that. And I will say, I have actually gotten like cheese rolls from like Chinese restaurants, which are basically just cheese-filled spring rolls. And they're good. They're really good. So I'm just like, that mixed with like your typical egg roll, I'm intrigued. I'd like to see what that's like. So in the judging, they liked Kevin's, but Kat was not a fan of the cheese in the egg roll.
Yeah.
And of course, Kevin's in his trailer going, but that's how we make it. That's what we do. Michael said he couldn't really pick out the mamba in the dish. Like he knew he used it, but he couldn't really taste it. And I'm like, that's a flavor you want to highlight, because it is such a unique type of flavor. So I'm not hopeful for Kevin at this point. So then we get into Antonia's judging. And like I said, there have been in the last few episodes a big moment in at least one judging that they show in the preview, and it's usually been in the last dish. And this is twice in a row that Antonia has gotten it. So Kat, and I almost wonder if maybe of all of the ones that we've seen, it felt the most like somebody's supposed to do something now. You know, like
we haven't had a good moment yet. Come on, somebody.
Well, especially because Kat was there last week when Scott did it. Whereas when, I can't remember. It was Andrew that did it with the takeout with Jets.
Yeah.
And there had been no holdover between those two. So Scott's felt, you know, I mean, it was 2 episodes in a row, but it felt more genuine. Whereas Kat's, and I mean, it might have been a genuine reaction. I'm just saying, watching it, it felt expected.
Not staged, but more like, oh, this is the thing to do when I'm, it's like,
right.
It's almost like she was pulling somebody else's shtick.
So like unnecessary theatrics.
Yeah. And
not
again, it might have been completely genuine. It might just be the timing that made it feel that way to me. But it did feel that way. She threw her napkin.
Yeah.
Which has to be the least dramatic of all the ones that they've done so far. But still, you know, it was a react. So, you know, I'm feeling like, okay, this is feeling pretty straight. And even Kevin was like, great. She gets the moment. But yeah, Kat gets the dramatic moment. She throws the napkin. She loves the dish. Michael says that the corn puree was brilliant. Ming is the only one that had a nitpick here. But he said that his only nitpick is that he didn't feel like her dish was as crunchy as Kevin's. And of course, Antonia's like, well, he made an egg roll.
Egg roll, yeah.
Of course, it's not as crunchy, but you know, but at the same time, you know, she's like, but it's a nitpick, whatever.
Yeah. What was it that somebody had said about Kevin, and Antonia just goes, I love that for him. It was like a critique or something. It might have been the thing about the Mamba peanut butter, like couldn't flavor it. And she's like, I love that for him.
It was either that or I think somebody said that their egg roll was a bit too greasy.
Oh, possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. But yeah, at this point, like Kevin even was like, well, I'm not giving up until the judging. And I'm like, oh, Kevin, you know it's coming.
Yeah.
You
know. So yeah, we get the final scores, and the final scoring is 88-85.
Honestly, lower than I was expecting. I was expecting another like Jet and Joe sort of thing.
Mean, I will say I didn't expect Kevin's to be that high, but I was expecting, because Antonia got a 90 last week for her fish and chips. So I was thinking like an 89 or something wouldn't be, you know, out of sorts. But, you know, she got an 88, which is still good.
Yeah.
You know, actually really good. She wins by 3 points. 44-43 in taste, 35-34 in randomizer, and 9-8 in presentation. Once again, she won by 1 point in every round. It's at least the third
time.
Yeah.
The third time that has been the case in this
this episode.
In this episode. And I will say, I want to double check here. Okay, so I was off by 1 point in the total score.
Nice.
I said 80. I gave Kevin the 85, so I got that one exactly right.
All right.
And I said 89 for Antonia.
Oh,
so I was off by 1, but I still get 2 points for that. But yeah, I was closer than either of you. So yeah. But I will say, and Britt actually pointed it out in the green room, that she and Antonia actually got the exact same score.
Ooh.
Now, I will say, though, at least based on the judging critique that we got to see, it sounded like the critiquing was better for Antonia than it at least sounded to us for Britt.
Yeah.
But they still got the same score, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Again, there had to be something going on in editing. But yeah. I mean, I just got to say, I'm super excited for that match. Something that I forgot to mention in the Brits match is that she mentioned that she's actually at the point that they recorded it, getting married in 9 days.
Oh, wow. That's right. I remember her saying she was getting married. I didn't realize I missed the 9 days thing.
Yeah, and I mean, since then she's gotten married to her wife, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They'd already been, partnering in restaurants and everything like that. But yeah, I'm just like, I can't imagine competing in something like this while preparing for a wedding.
Oh God, no.
Like I'm just like, either your wife is doing most of the planning, or you guys both just have a really good wedding planner that you both trust. Or
you had this thing all ready to go, and then you got the word of this, and it's just like, all right, this will be an excuse to bring all the family into this town.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's an added stress. So I'm just like, I'm honestly, it's kind of miraculous that she's performing as well as she is with all of this extra going on. But I'm really excited for the match of Antonia versus Britt. Also excited for Leanne Wong versus Sarah Bradley. I feel a little bit more confident about that one, though. But you never know. Could definitely surprise. So I will say they do show us. They don't outright show us the judges' faces, but they hint pretty hard that it's going to be the previous champs as judges.
Oh, okay.
Which honestly, I had been thinking the whole time that that's what they were going to do. I will say both Maylin and now I cannot think of the woman's name. Manit have judged in previous episodes. I don't know why Brooke hasn't. It just must not have been in her schedule. But it looks like all three of them are going to be there next week. But they also said that they're going to have a fourth, like, really big time surprise judge for the final as well. So no clue as to who that could be.
It'll be Bobby Flay.
I mean, honestly, they made it seem like it was going to be another woman.
Oh,
so I have
Bobby Flay in a wig.
Well, all the finals.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. But yeah, no. Here's hoping not. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Really excited for next week. Really excited for the semis and the final. So want to go ahead and let people know before we finish up. You guys can find us on all of our socials. Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at The Flying Cow Pod. You can also email at theflyingcowpod@gmail.com. Let us know what you're thinking. Check out everything else that we've got going on. Amanda, Dan, anything you want people to know about?
Actually, yes, I have a gaming charity marathon coming up. So if you're watching this before the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, something like that, I don't remember the dates.
Before then.
24, 25, 26 are the days I'm doing it. It's called Heroes of Time, and we are doing this with the American Cancer Society.
Oh, cool.
And playing some Zelda stuff. We got some really fun, not really little special fun segments. It's a whole bunch of us all together. We've got a big ass house, and I'm excited for it.
Nice. Good stuff. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for helping me to do this today.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been really, thanks for telling us about it, because we've been really enjoying the show.
Hey, I mean, number one, letting more people know about this, I think, is great. Plus, now I have more people to talk to about it. I don't have to hound random friends who just smile and nod when I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that match." They're just like, "All right." So yeah,
Apothecary Diaries right now.
But yes, want to thank everybody who is listening. Hope you guys are enjoying this, and hope to see you next time for the final. But until that time, moo.